Are the Chicago Bears secretly plotting a massive draft day shocker at pick number 25 that nobody is talking about? While everyone is distracted by the flashy names, a few hidden gems in the secondary and the trenches are quietly rising up the draft boards, and one of them comes with a massive, controversial red flag. Buckle up, because we are tearing into the absolute wildest draft scenarios that could redefine this entire defense. Before we get into these crazy draft rumors, make sure you smash that like button, share this with every diehard fan you know, and hit subscribe so you never miss a beat. Let us talk about the brutal reality of the 25th overall pick. The board is going to be incredibly unpredictable by the time we are on the clock, and the rumors leaking out of the front office point to 3 specific, game-changing targets. We are staring down the barrel of a crucial decision, and the tension is palpable. Are we really going to trust a patchwork secondary when we have the golden ticket at pick 25 to draft a true generational enforcer? The safety position is screaming for a massive upgrade, and 2 names are currently locked in a ruthless battle to be the second safety taken off the board right behind Ohio State's Caleb Downs. The first guy we have to discuss is Dillon Thieneman, the absolute phenom out of Oregon. Now, I have to be completely honest with you. Based on the freakish numbers he put up at the scouting combine in Indianapolis, Thieneman might not even be sitting there at 25 unless we engineer a blockbuster trade to move up. Some of the most plugged-in draft insiders are already mocking him to us in the first round, and if he actually falls into our laps, it would be the steal of the century. This kid is the definition of a defensive chess piece. He proved himself at 2 different Big Ten programs, Purdue and Oregon, bringing that elite speed and lethal versatility that our secondary desperately craves. Sure, he might be a little undersized, hovering right around 200 pounds, but do not let that fool you for a second. He is not built like a massive, throwback linebacker, but he plays with the heart of one. Think about how Kyler Gordon throws his body around at the nickel spot. Thieneman has that same reckless abandon in the run game. When he lines up in the deep half, down in the box, or over the slot, he reads the quarterback's eyes with terrifying anticipation. He has an incredibly fluid backpedal in the slot, ridiculous closing speed, and when he plants his foot in the dirt, he explodes toward the football. Yes, he might occasionally take a bad angle and fly by a tackle against the run, but he checks almost every single box for the modern-day hybrid safety. He can play single high, 2 high looks, and zone coverage flawlessly. This is exactly the kind of dynamic athlete our defensive coordinator Dennis Allen is absolutely obsessed with. If you handed me the draft card right now, I would not hesitate to lock in Dillon Thieneman. But hold on, because there is another absolute monster lurking in the shadows, and his name is Emmanuel McNeil-Warren. Draft experts who were banging the table for us to draft Colston Loveland last year are now screaming from the rooftops about McNeil-Warren. And let us be real, the intel connecting him to us is completely valid. McNeil-Warren is a towering, long-limbed nightmare for opposing receivers out of Toledo. We are talking about a safety who stands around 6'3" or 6'4". Every single piece of tape on this guy is just a highlight reel of bone-crushing hits, relentless energy, and insane ball production. When he ranges off the hash marks, he attacks the sideline like a heat-seeking missile. He dominates wideouts trying to secure catches between the numbers, and against the run, he unlocks his hips and simply explodes through ball carriers. This brings us to a massive crossroads, and I need to hear from every single one of you right now. Question of the day: if you are the general manager on the clock right now, who are you sprinting to the podium to draft? The freakishly athletic Dillon Thieneman, or the towering enforcer Emmanuel McNeil-Warren? Get down in the comments below and let me know, because this debate is tearing the fanbase apart. Personally, it feels like picking your poison in the absolute best way possible. Thieneman has the slight athletic edge and the major conference pedigree. McNeil-Warren brings that massive frame and intimidating presence that makes receivers hear footsteps. The tape is razor-thin between them, but McNeil-Warren is arguably the more realistic option to survive until the 25th pick because he did not test quite as off-the-charts as Thieneman did. Honestly, if you handed me a contract guaranteeing either of these guys in a Bears uniform, I would sign it in a heartbeat. Now, as much as I want a superstar safety, we cannot ignore the terrifying state of our pass rush. Last season, our sack production was downright embarrassing. We tallied a pathetic 35 sacks, barely scraping by near the bottom of the league, and our pass rush win rate was practically non-existent. Montez Sweat was an absolute warrior, racking up 10 of those sacks by himself, but the drop-off after him was sickening. We have got to fix this, and that is where Zion Young enters the chat. The buzz surrounding this edge rusher out of Missouri was deafening after the Senior Bowl. It quieted down for a second, but now it is roaring back with a vengeance. Several top-tier analysts have explicitly linked Zion Young to us at 25, noting that edge rusher is undeniably our most glaring vulnerability. Zion Young is a physical specimen. At 6'6" and over 260 pounds, he is the exact prototypical build that Dennis Allen demands in his defensive ends. He registered 6.5 sacks and 46 pressures last season in the ruthless SEC. That sack number might not sound legendary on paper, but the underlying metrics are absolutely mind-blowing. He plays with raw, terrifying power and a motor that simply never shuts off. His analytics are elite across the board, sitting comfortably in the 80s for both run defense and pass rushing. But here is the stat that should make your jaw drop. He boasts a pass rush win rate over 17% and a run stop rate near 10%. If you plotted those numbers on a chart, he is essentially sitting in the elite, top-tier quadrant for 3-down defensive ends who play heavy snaps. He sets a brutal edge against the run, he terrorizes quarterbacks, and he could instantly rotate in to keep guys like Montez Sweat and Austin Booker fresh. But wait, there is a massive, incredibly bizarre elephant in the room that almost nobody in the mainstream media is talking about. Zion Young was slapped with a DWI charge in January following a speeding incident in Missouri back in December. He reportedly refused a breathalyzer, forcing authorities to take a blood sample. I have scoured every corner of the internet, and those blood test results are completely ghost. He was scheduled for a court date in late February, and yet, there is absolute radio silence. Is the case getting dropped? Are the charges being reduced? Did it just quietly go away? We have absolutely no idea. But you and I both know how General Manager Ryan Poles operates. Poles is notoriously obsessive about character and culture. We saw him pass on generational talents like Jalen Carter purely because of character concerns. I am not sitting here calling Zion Young a bad person, and I am not saying he is entirely off the draft board. We just do not have enough information. But you better believe the front office is doing military-grade background checks on this kid as we speak. Depending on what those private investigators uncover, this situation could easily become a massive deal-breaker. So, where does that leave our defensive line? We did not make any earth-shattering moves at defensive tackle in free agency, though we did sprinkle in some solid depth by bringing in Neville Gallimore, Kentavious Street, and James Lynch. Gallimore is essentially a lock to make the roster given his contract, and we will have to see if Street or Lynch can battle it out for a spot. We are also waiting to see what kind of shape Shamar Turner and Dayo Odeyingbo are in when they hit the field this year. Looking at the upcoming draft class for defensive tackles, it gets incredibly thin very fast. Guys like Akeem Masita are out there, but he is an older prospect, and taking him at 25 feels like a massive reach. The reality is, we can find heavy-hitting defensive tackles on day 2 of the draft. The premium talent at pick 25 is entirely concentrated at edge rusher and safety. This brings us to our final, painful dilemma. We desperately need a day 1 starter at the safety position, but we also desperately need a homegrown, terrifying edge rusher to line up opposite of our veterans. Which glaring hole makes you lose more sleep at night, ignoring the edge or neglecting the safety spot? If we mess this up, we are looking at another season of opposing quarterbacks standing in the pocket untouched, or opposing wide receivers torching our deep coverage. The stakes literally could not be higher. We are just days away from finding out exactly how this front office plans to save this defense. I am pacing the floor waiting for this draft to start, and I know you are too. Thank you so much for hanging out and talking football with me today, and as always, bear down.